This is Rob Tebbutt for ID Boxing, and I am delighted to be joined the first time, by the way, by the one and only Ring Raps boxing aficionado, MC extraordinaire. We're here in Saudi Arabia for Usyk-Joshua 2. Raps, I'm going to call you Raps for the sake of the interview. How you doing?
Wow, how do I follow that intro? I mean, well, I'm doing great, man. I'm here. We're all a bit fatigued, I think it's fair to say. We'll get that out of the way. We'll get the moaning out of the way. Yeah, big up. I've got to plug my guy Saud from Shine and Skills. They brought me out at lastminute.com. Went down like a sack of potatoes with a fan, but we're here living a dream, mate. So yeah, I had to come to Saudi to meet up with you. We've worked together, funny pandemics, funny times. It's the only era in history where you work with people that you've never met. So yeah, good to put a slimmer face to the name.
Yeah, thankfully I'm a little bit slimmer now than I was in the pandemic. It was a bit ropey for a while, but yeah, people may remember, obviously previously working at Boxing Social, we did the Canelo Saunders freestyle together. So yeah. I didn't do it, but we put it together, did a great job on that. I would plug it, but I don't work there anymore. So maybe we'll do another one soon. Yes, we are here in sunny Saudi Arabia for Usyk-Joshua 2. We're going to dive straight into it because it's been a long morning, but always good to catch up with you, of course.
Let's do it.
Talk to me about the first fight, because obviously it's a significant part of the storyline here. Oleksandr Usyk went over to London, defeated Anthony Joshua, took those belts back to Ukraine, and here we are 11 months later in Saudi Arabia. So what did you think to the first fight?
First fight was unusual. I actually think it was a better fight than what people give it credit for. It's funny how down the line now Brits look back, or especially the casual, they look back and because AJ lost, it's like, oh, it was a crap fight because AJ lost, but that's not the case. Did AJ fight or box how I wanted him to or thought he would? No. I think Usyk kind of snake charmed him. He never really got to grips with the southpaw, the front foot battle. He, without sounding too technical, like I know what I'm talking about, but he was pensive, but he was over technical for me in moments. But I will say Joshua had spots. People kind of just whitewash it as if to say Usyk wiped the floor with him. I think that's a bit harsh. I think Josh had his moments in the fight, and as I said to you earlier over breakfast, Usyk did come out marked up, and AJ landed a couple of right hands and 20 jabs, but disappointing, anticlimactic. The big kind of like coming home fight, sold out in Tottenham. It's been a roller coaster since then, though, man. Just the whole logistics running up to this. So yeah, the stage is set for what, I'm not quite sure.
Slightly different vibe here going over here for Joshua-Usyk 2, or Usyk-Joshua 2 rather than there was for Ruiz-Joshua 2. I think the first Andy Ruiz fight, I think we all saw what happened there. Kind of rushed in, left his feet behind him and got caught with a shot. Whereas the first Usyk fight was a slightly different vibe. You mentioned there, I felt like Joshua actually boxed pretty well. Whether or not he boxed the right style to beat Oleksandr Usyk is up for debate. But we are here now, and he has a different type of challenge ahead of him for the rematch. How do you think he's going to approach it? Does he have to be more aggressive? That seems to be the general consensus. Go in there, stick it on Usyk, be the bigger man, land the big shots. Is that what he's got to do on Saturday night?
So let me answer your question indirectly. Is my boxing history correct that Robert Garcia trained Maidana for Mayweather? So I said to someone, is it too simplistic to say that that's why he was chose? Like in the broader scheme of things, looking at that kind of blueprint, a masterful boxer, one of the best ever, with which Usyk looks like he is now, especially at that weight class. You're in a select group, let alone people like Evander who've come up, but a select group of movers. I mean, some of the older historical fighters, namely Ali and a few more, Larry Holmes, people could move, but in this era, they tend to be big, stiff, sturdy, 17 stone plus units, which AJ is. AJ's got some tools that are unique to AJ as in an advantage over Usyk. Size, although there's speculation about how much size difference there is now, and that's all kind of been played out a bit. Athleticism, not to say Usyk's not an athlete because he does handstands and backflips, but just that kind of raw athleticism. If Robert Garcia in this short camp and remotely via Angel has been able to implement enough foundation blocks of aggressive kind of calculated aggression. Are we going to see AJ a la Mexican style? But you just mentioned about running in against Ruiz. I mean, AJ's a tall guy and his body mechanics don't suit him well. Unlike Fury, who's nimble, AJ will come in and he'll leave something available. You know, we don't have to speculate as to what Usyk will do with openings. Does he have to be more aggressive? Yes. How is he going to be more aggressive? I think he's got to throw the conventional book out the window. Instead of jab, jab, right hand, maybe he's got to come in with a lead right hook, mess up the game plan, throw a 2-3-1. Don't, because he's not naturally comfortable fighting a southpaw. Not many people are, and Joshua, coming from that long background of the McCracken setup, kind of I'll probably hash this, but say like an Olympic style, very textbook. To be fair, he's got to just have a tear up, Rob. He's got to have a tear up, not like on a whim and a prayer, but he's got to have a tear up in the early rounds. Hope that something really gives Usyk a litmus test. And as we said, you know, jump on him. Literally jump on him. That's it.
If he doesn't do that, I mean, we saw Oleksandr Usyk in the first fight, made a very good start. The middle rounds were a little bit closer. Joshua kind of nicked a couple of them, looked like he was going to get back into the fight. And then the second half of the fight, particularly the championship rounds, is where we saw Usyk really put his foot on the gas. Had Anthony Joshua hurt and in trouble at the end of the 12th round, as we all saw. If Anthony Joshua does go in there, throws the kitchen sink, and Usyk's still there around 6 or 7, how do you see the fight playing out in the second half?
Well, you've kind of set the scene there. That's worst case scenario. Trying to be positive and best foot forward and whatnot for the UK and British boxing, because let's pick no bones, Joshua has got boxing to a level where we didn't think it could be in Britain again. If he doesn't take his shot early, it's going to be really telling how conditioned he is. So you mentioned the championship rounds. Joshua's conditionings, even though he's an athlete, as I mentioned, he's more explosive, not in the sense of wilder, fast twitch naturally, but in spots. His weight, Joshua's weight seems to affect his conditioning very heavily, no pun intended. So if he's got his weight right, tactics aside, what Usyk's going to do, Usyk's going to do. He can do whatever he wants, fair to say. Usyk's a master in the ring. I think we're going to see a more conditioned Joshua. How much work he would have done by the middle rounds, if he's cut Usyk or hurt him, with heavyweight boxing, and all boxing, but especially the big boys, apart from that one bang cliche, people always forget about the anomaly, Rob, getting cut. Look at Fury versus Wallin. So that stuff happens. You know, things happen in heavyweight boxing that can't be explained with logic. I'm not saying AJ's got to win the lottery. I'm just saying I can't exactly pinpoint how this fight goes down. Personally, in my dream, Joshua uppercuts him 5, 6, 7. It's whether that sticks. That's it.
The winner of this fight, of course, will either still be or become the unified champion, hold 3 of the 4 belts. Of course, Tyson Fury still holds the WBC title.
Don't forget Ring Magazine.
Recently relinquished the Ring Magazine belt, which of course will be on the line on Saturday night here in Jeddah. The winner of this fight, I mean, first and foremost, Tyson Fury, a retired heavyweight in your opinion, or just being Tyson Fury? I think I saw something on Twitter, somebody tagged me in something that said that he's retired every year since 2015.
Well, it's straight out of the Floyd playbook. So Floyd would notoriously, because Floyd didn't have a competitive fight since 2016. I believe he fought Pacquiao in 2015. He fought Berto after that. And the rest since McGregor have all been exhibitions, even though McGregor gets classed as a fight, which is ridiculous. He basically plays the narrative perfectly. He kind of master puppeteers the circus, gets us in a frenzy as to what is he going to do, what is he going to say on a fight week of a magnitude of his rivals. And it's perfect marketing, really, because we're talking about Tyson Fury before Usyk AJ. So Fury definitely comes out. The big point to pay attention to is, does he come out easier if it's Joshua? And that people are like, casuals will look and they'll look at the aesthetics and be like, what are you talking about? Usyk's tiny. You know, the whole reason Usyk's so successful is because he's so elusive. Fury's great as well. Fury, I'll be the favorite in that fight, but Usyk's, it's definitely I mean, we've never seen not many matchups in heavyweight history of a size disparity of that level where both are masterful boxers in their own right. I mean, I have to go through the archives to try and think of someone that meet those requirements. The boxers weren't that big back then, with a few exceptions. Definitely can't move like Fury. There's been no 6, 8, 9 guys that can move like Fury. He's a poor man's Gypsy King Muhammad Ali. So I think he jumps at the opportunity to fight AJ because it just spells ka-ching. It spells legacy. It spells nail in the coffin. Do they come back out here and break the bank? Likely. Do we get the promised land and get Wembley? Hopefully. But, Usyk's going to spoil the party, according to the odds. So I think he comes out for Joshua. I'm not saying he doesn't come out for Usyk, but it's not as fan-friendly and it's not as sexy an event. So,
what do you think is a harder fight for Fury? Is Usyk a harder fight for him than Joshua?
Tactically, yeah. Yeah. The movement and the size. I think you mentioned like a lot of, we're in a giant super heavyweight era since Lennox Lewis, and a lot of there are exceptions, but a lot of the bigger guys don't like punching down. And you're looking at 5-6 inch difference, plus that head movement. As long as Fury is the longest reach in boxing, and he's very good at getting in and out with that range, a bit a la Roy Jones in a different way because his levers are just ridiculous. They can touch you from the other side of the ring, but you know better than me, Usyk's a wizard. You can't touch him. So I think that fight would be a disaster, actually, to watch. I think that fight would have weird undertones, not stylistically, but result-wise of Vladimir and Fury, in the sense that Fury would be the favorite on paper because he's the king of this era, but he's the bigger guy. And I see Usyk could be like that annoying wasp. But I think for the fans, for technical people that love watching and point scoring, they would love it. Oh my God, see the feint. But from a casual perspective, I think that's a hard fight to watch. Because if we're honest, okay, Boxing Clinic, Vladimir and Fury is a horrible fight to watch, just for enjoyment. I mean, there are purists that love it, and I'm half a purist, but I'm half a excitable person as well, because I'm an artist, so I always like to see a bit of fireworks, hence why I prefer Joshua and Fury. It would just be more blockbuster.
A lot of the talk going into this fight this week has been about, or some of the talk, should I say, not a lot of it, is what happens if Anthony Joshua were to lose again. I think Johnny Nelson, kind of the main protagonist or antagonist in that regard, saying that Anthony Joshua, he believes that he'll retire, or he could retire, hang up his gloves if he were to lose. Two-part question. Do you think that would be the case? And if not, if he does lose to Oleksandr Usyk, what fights are there out there for Anthony Joshua?
I'll keep this one brief. No, he doesn't retire. Unless he gets knocked out in 20 seconds. And it's like, oh my God, the guy's had to get rushed to hospital. If that happens, now you're looking at it from a medical perspective. If that doesn't happen, and it's just a bit of a dry loss, or he gasses in the later rounds and gets TKO'd, he'll dust himself off and come again. There's only one Oleksandr Usyk. And the second part of your question, him and Wilder's still a mega fight in America or England. There's the trilogy with Dillian, which is also another stadium sellout, agreed, in UK.
Depends what stadium, but yeah, I think it could still do big business for sure. 20
to 30,000 it could do. There are some fights out there for him. The young bucks coming through, that doesn't really marry well with I wouldn't call it a rebuilding project at that point, but let's keep it real. Joshua is a monster blue chip brand. He's a man machine in the sense of it's just an enterprise, right? It's like Coca-Cola or Apple Mac. Weirdly, I've always wanted to ask him why he doesn't have a real moniker. And I almost wonder if someone very early, and it probably is just a thing where his boys called him AJ, but I've always wondered very early if branding people said to him, it's easy to brand. It's 2 letters and they're the same sound, AJ. Anyone can remember that. The reason I'm going to be on a tangent is it's all about branding with Joshua. He was the pin-up gold medalist. And it's weird because Usyk was a gold medalist, but he done things a lot differently. As you know, with the huge amateur background. Then went into the World Series of Boxing as soon as he came in, which is a bit confusing because if you don't know boxing, that could appear like it's amateur as well, like because of the name. I think Joshua definitely has more business to do. I mean, and he literally just done the big deal with DAZN. If Derek Chisora can carve out, a career this far down the line, and he's been sparked, Josh ain't got nothing to worry about. There's no shame in listening to Oleksandr Usyk. Undisputed cruiserweight coming up. Best cruiserweight since Evander Holyfield, man. And I mean, I know it's a very select group. Sorry, David Hay, but it's Usyk's going to go down as a legend, like a goat of like Eastern European boxing. Just that new kind of cerebral, hyper technical boxing as well. It's there's a lot of fighters even in America now that are studying the Papachenko ethos. So that's going to be interesting to see what kind of fruits that bears down the line. Joshua comes from a different lane. It's like, right, the guy's a stud, the guy talks well, the guy knocks people out. All comes down to how he loses, Rob. I should have said that.
That's okay. That was a short answer for you. That's all right. Before I let you go, wouldn't be right not to talk about you and your work that you've done this week. I was very, very happy to see you pop out to the press conference yesterday. God, it's been a long week. I forgot when it was.
Yeah.
To come out, and you did some of your bars. As I mentioned at the start of the interview, you are a musician, you are an artist.
Yeah.
We've done some stuff in the past, and you came out and you did some bars for Eddie Hearn, you did some bars for Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
How was that whole experience?
So for those that don't know, I was a garage around the Soul Solid era, and then grime around the early days of Channel U with like Dizzy Rascal, Nasty Crew, Wiley. As Nicky S and Nike, I was in a double act. I was Nike. We were like trailblazers in that scene. So musically, I go back to like 2001. So I'm older than I look. But Ring Raps, which is my new moniker these days, as a daddy now, like I look at music differently. So I do this because I enjoy it. So I sat back and, to be quite honest, the AJ and the Matchroom machine kind of encouraged me to think there's a lot of opportunities. Like, and I wasn't doing this as a business to make money. I was just like, I was a music artist that loved boxing. So I had to work out where my lane was, and I'm still kind of refining it, my niche. But when my boy gave me 24 hours notice, I was told on Sunday I was coming out here on like Tuesday. So I was on a tiny, cramped Turkish Airlines flight, just writing bars. I haven't been, it was good. I got to do a dummy run with Eddie, which was nice to kind of pound the flesh of Eddie, because they know I did Fight Camp Anthem, it was a spur of the moment thing. It was so successful. We've done things together. But when it came to AJ, because his entourage were kind of getting ready to usher him out, but my guy Saud knew one of his guys that were going to be leaving that way in like 2 minutes, walk and talk. I was like, cool, because all the other piranhas with the cameras, not you guys. We
had somebody there.
All the piranhas with the cameras had huddled again. Like, he's a moving circus. So it was weird. I said to my boy, I had one earpod in, and I was practicing my bars. Bro, these bars were less than 24 hours old. And I actually had a whole like 32. I think in the end I only did a 16, because it ended on a punchier bar anyway. I think it was a Robert Garcia bar. And I said, Robert Garcia ain't here for the paycheck, so haters can take a rain check. Kind of smack bang wallop. It kind of just like puts the full stop there. But I was nervous, weird. I'm a big man and I was nervous. Not big man, but I'm an old boy like in the music game. And I was like, it's good nerves though. It was weird. It was like, it reminded me of like when I made my debut on like Radio 1. Like back in like 2003, 4, when I was like stupid young and just like stupid. I was like, wow. Like a football player like taking a penalty at a fucking Champions League final, excuse my French. And I said to my boy, I was like, yeah, the butterflies are good, but I better not. I need to get this on point. So, and it was weird because I saw Josh, he was caught off guard, because that's kind of like, that's not the norm, which is my whole idea in this realm, is to be different. I don't just want to be another content interview. I want to be an artist, a boxing artist with a music background. And I saw Josh was listening to the bars, and he reacted to a couple of the bars really good. And he was like, when I said, oh, you can add the ring mag as well, he was like, geez. I was like, yeah, it's job done. So I'd be lying if the inner kid artist in me wasn't like, yes. But do you know what? That's the beauty of art, man. Like, to be able to now so many years later, rejuvenate and reinvent myself under a new name that's got like a lane. Yeah, it's fun, man. It's fun. I love it, and I'm gonna start, because with music before it was I was pre-social media era, and then we phased in, but it was you had to be so careful and selective of what you made. The algorithm doesn't work like that, man. You gotta scattergun it. So I'm gonna be doing a lot more material and just volume. I think it's not all gonna be polished. It's just gonna be like me, off the cuff, reaction, like shorts, whatever. So I think it's kind of shown me that you got to seize the moment. That's it. So another short answer.
Absolutely. Okay, Rob, before I let you go, let's go back to the boxing itself and talk about the fight.
Oh, here we go.
What's your final prediction? If I gave you my last Rolo, that doesn't really work as an analogy, but I'm still going to give you my last Rolo to place on somebody. Very strange. Who are you putting it on and why?
AJ. I'm in the minority. I'm a dreamer. So I'm putting on AJ. I think because, leaning to one of your questions before, that Johnny Nelson's suggesting he might be done out here. Yeah, if he loses. Man's had 2 losses at that. No, he would have 3 losses at that point. I mean, Jesus Christ. Muhammad Ali had losses, couldn't beat Ken Norton. Do you know what I'm trying to, it's like, you lose to people, man. So I think, though, having said all of that, I do believe there's a tiny little bit of the Robert Garcia factor, that this is an opportunity for Robert. Again, I might be dreaming, that he's never had a boxer in this weight class. And if he was to somehow pull it off with AJ, this is huge for them as a team, individually and collectively. I'm backing AJ, 5, 6, 7th round. Uppercut, and then a 3-punch combo to finish him.
Okay, well, you heard it here first. Before I let you go, Ring Raps, tell everybody here where to follow you on social media to keep up with your new wave of art, your new wave of boxing music.
To be honest, I don't touch the toxic realm that is your domain of Twitter. I leave that to you, Rob. I may have to start dipping my toes in the pool, but no, I'm an Instagram whore. So yeah, at ringraps1, number 1 on Insta, and also on Twitter as well. The YouTube page, I think I'm going to be just collabing cross-platform content, because to be quite frank, these guys do a great job. I ain't going to try and pretend I got the time. I got young kids. I ain't got the time to do editing. I ain't about that life. I'm an artist. I'm not an editor. So I respect the work that goes on that side of the camera, but I'm the talent. I'm this side of the camera. So that's it.
Okay. Well, Ring Rats, real pleasure to meet you finally in the flesh. I say we've been speaking for a couple of years, and we've worked together in the past and had many calls in the past, but it's good to see you out here for Usyk-Joshua 2. And everybody at home, please go and follow Ring Raps at ringraps1 to keep up with his latest work. And we look forward to seeing Anthony Joshua versus Oleksandr Usyk tangle again this weekend in Saudi Arabia. Ring Raps, thanks very much for speaking to ID Boxing and myself. I look forward to catching up with you soon.
It's a pleasure, and congrats on the new project.